Hello everyone and welcome back to the SQL course. Let's now complete the case study. Here in this lecture, let's go along and check the solutions for this case study. I hope you were able to do the exercises by yourself. If you are curious, also stand by for you to see the solutions that I've developed here for this case study. So let's go to exercise 1, which asks us to create a table named stores in the books and books database. The table should have the following columns: store ID, that is an auto-incremented integer primary key, a not null store name, that is a varchar 30, and capacity, a tiny int column. So here I'm going to write exercise 1, and then we can use create table. So the create table command, books and books.stores, we open parentheses and we start to define our columns. So we have the store ID, remember the name of the store, or it should be store name, and then the capacity. Now let's see what are the properties of these columns. So the store ID is an auto-incremented integer primary key. So I know that this is an integer, I know that it should be a primary key, and I also need to add the auto-increment. So I can add right here auto-increment right before the primary key, and we've defined the integer column that is an auto-incremented one, and it's a primary key of the table, meaning that it's the identifier of this table. So the store name is a not null varchar, so let's go for data type first, varchar 30, and then we can add the property not null that we've already learned. And then we have capacity, a tiny int column. So I'm going here, capacity should only be tiny int, close our parentheses and close our query. So if you run this query, what you'll have is then a table created here in the books and books called stores. I'm not going to run it because I've already ran this command, so I have the table already in my database. But if you run this command, you'll see that this command will work, creating the structure that you want. So let's go for exercise 2. Just recapping before going to exercise 2, create table command is the command that enables us to create tables from scratch. Exercise 2, we need to change the type of the capacity column to a small int. So here, remember, we have to use first alter table, then we pass the table that we want to change, and then we need the subclause or the sub-instruction inside the alter table, in this case the modify. So remember that we have several instructions that we can use here inside alter table. In this case we are using modify. Modify can change a specific column type. So if I hit capacity small int, what I'm doing is changing the data type of the capacity to a small int. That's just what you need to do here in this exercise. Remember, here you are training how to use this modify inside the alter table. Exercise 3. Let's go here for exercise 3. We have insert a new store named Booksy with a capacity of 500 in the stores table. So a new command that we've also learned, insert into. So I can insert books and books.stores. And now remember, I have to pass the columns where I want to insert into. So store name and capacity. Again, why am I not naming the store ID? Because the store ID is an auto increment column. Don't forget about that. No need to name it when doing the insert into, because SQL will automatically increment a value in that column by itself. As the auto increment feature tells us in its name, it will be auto incremented. So here I'm going to put values now because I have store name, capacity, and I can pass the values that I want to put. And here the values, as you know, are Booksy, which are the name of our store, and the capacity 500. Again, remember, when you are passing strings, pass the quotes, either single or double quotes. When you are passing numbers, don't need any quotes at all, so you just pass the number. Okay, can close this query, not going to run it also. So most of these commands, I'm not running them, but if you run these commands, you'll see that they will work. Exercise 4, which is kind of similar. Insert two new stores with names Pagey and Leaflet with a capacity of 200 and 250 respectively. I can copy this command because we'll also use the insert into, but now we have something different. We have to insert two stores in a row. So the first one is Pagey, that should have 200, so 200 of capacity. And now remember that I can add a new store, for example, just here with a simple comma and giving a new tuple of values. So here leaflet, which has 250. This will insert into my table 2 rows at the same time. Okay, so the 2 rows will be inserted or one after the other, but the same query will insert the 2 rows, and we don't need to have multiple insert into instructions to do that. Just use comma and then new tuple of values, in this case new pair of values between the parentheses. Okay, cool. So exercise 5, it's a simple one. Just set the SQL safe updates clause to 0. And here I'm going to do exercise 5. Then we can use set. Remember, set is setting a property. We didn't study this like in with so much detail during the course, but set is just setting some property in SQL. That's why we also flag this exercise as something that wasn't approached in the lectures. But even so, here is how you can set specific properties in SQL. So SQL safe updates equal to 0. Here we are changing this property that's enabled by default in MySQL when we work with MySQL Workbench. You can also change it in the options directly, but with code, you just use this instruction of setting this property. This will enable us to delete objects or delete elements from the table and also remove or drop tables, which is something that we will need for the next exercises. So on exercise 6 is a bit tricky because we have to delete the leaflet and booksy stores from the store table with a single instruction. So we already know that we can use the delete from command. So delete from books and books.stores. Now, how can I delete 2 stores at the same time? To do that, I can use a where clause. Remember, when I just use delete from without a where clause, I'll delete the entire table. So it's a really powerful and destructive command. But here with the where clause, I can use where the store name, because I want to delete by name, right? As you can see, leaflet and booksy. Now I can use an operator that we've learned before, which is the in operator that lets me select several elements from a specific table. Remember when we've done the Sakila.film examples? That's what happened here. So store name in, and I'm going to put leaflet and booksy. This will basically delete me from the books and books store all the rows where the store name is in one of these 2. So in leaflet or in booksy. In this case, the 2 of them will be deleted. Now notice that this where supports all the clauses that we've checked in the basic querying section. Okay, so this where supports general SQL syntax. Everything that we've learned with the greater than, less than, or different than works here in this where clause, because this where clause is exactly like a select all from, because this where clause selects exactly like a filter statement, a where statement in a normal select clause or in a normal select query. If I close this one, and if you run this one, you'll check that these 2 stores will disappear from that table. Okay, so exercise 7 is also easy, which is insert a new store name library with capacity 2000 on the stores table. Here, we've already done this, so this is a recap again on this insert into. I just wanted you to train a bit more this insert into. So capacity and then values, and we need library and 2000. Now we have to change the capacity column name to book capacity. So the capacity column right now has the name capacity. We need to change it to book capacity. Again, we can rely on alter table. So alter table, books and books.stores. And now we need a new sub-instruction of the alter table. And that instruction is the change column. So I'll change column and I can put capacity to book capacity. Remember, this is the syntax to use this change column. And then I can use varchar 30 and close this one. And this is the statement of the same data type that we've defined right here, because we are not changing the data type, just changing the name of the column from capacity to book capacity. Finally, the last exercise, we have to add a region column to the stores table. This column should be a varchar 100. I'll go here to exercise 9, alter table, books and books.stores, and then we can add column, and in here region varchar 100. So here we have a new sub-instruction. We tested 3 here, the add column, the change column, and also the modify inside the alter table. We've seen here another sub-instruction of the alter table that you can practice, which adds a new column to already existing tables. I hope this case study was pretty clear to you. This was a case study that I think it's like an easy level, but even so, it's a good one for you to get familiar with these instructions, the delete from, the insert into, the alter table, instructions that change the underlying data or structure of your table. Okay, so we've learned how to work on a single table. We've learned how to query the table, understand how we can select, grouping data, and also changing the structure or the data of that table with these instructions. Now there's some things that we did not do which are super famous here in SQL, which are joins. Joins are the way for us to combine tables, or at least combine tables horizontally, meaning adding new columns to the domain of a specific table. We'll see that in the next section, where we are going to do 2 things. We are going to study joins, but we are also going to study how we can append data or stack tables one on top of each other. So let's go to the next section where we'll study different joins, and I'll see you there.